performance was perfect tonight! Thank you. Your hair is beautiful. Your tail is beautiful. Everyone was watching you. Everyone loves you. Everyone wants to be you. You are the best. Thank you. I am the best. I am the best.
What makes a beloved, memorable character? A bunch of college degrees and knowing every writing trick in the book? Getting lucky and having your character simply be in the right place at the right time? Is the only requirement making your character as attractive as possible while putting them in the tightest outfit? Is there even a secret ingredient or method to making a character that latches onto and vibes with so many people? As it turns out, there is something that most, if not all, beloved characters have in common, and that's being as relatable and believable in their actions as possible. Despite her late introduction to the series, Roxanne Wolf has become one of the most popular characters and my favorite character in all of Five Nights at Freddy's. Many assume it's just because she's another pretty face, snout, muzzle. The important thing is that most people believe that Roxanne is only popular because she's hot. Well, as far as furries are concerned. I can't really talk though because I think Roxy here is a pretty little number, so... But what if I told you a lot of her fans would still love her and take Roxanne home if they found her in a real-life junkyard still activated and looking like this? There's no physical attraction to be found here. Roxy is as broken as you can get, yet the fans still love her. Why is that? It's because it has to do with how Roxanne was written and how Steel Wool made her situation as relatable to as many fans as possible. Despite being an animatronic, before I get into Roxy's character, I want to tell my personal history with the robot and how she slowly won over my heart. Back when I first got Security Breach, I didn't play it for a while. It sat in my library of games untouched. I heard about the bad reputation it was getting, and worst of all, how annoying the new animatronics were as they looked for you. I also had a huge Bonnie and Foxy bias at the time, and was pissed that neither were in the game. When I heard that the character who replaced Foxy was some wolf obsessed with her looks and popularity like some cartoon villain, I thought for sure this was the animatronic I was gonna hate the most. I admit, when I finally did start playing Security Breach, I went into the game hating Roxanne and not giving her any chances. Then something happened when I got to the first area where Roxanne was an actual threat. I was having fun. I actually enjoyed watching Roxy on camera and timing when she walked by so I could sneak past her. I found Roxanne to be an enjoyable character to experience and play around with. Wait, that's illegal. Then when I made it to Roxanne's room after getting off the elevator and hearing this for the first time, it immediately made me want to know more about what was going on with this sad wolf. I took to YouTube and found a video explaining just what was going on with the character. Little did I know just how much this one video set into motion, how I would get to know the person responsible for making this video, and how much of a positive impact this content creator would have on my life. But that's a story for another day. If I ever decide I want to tell that particular story.
No!
In a way, you could say Roxanne Wolf was responsible for making one of my closest friends, if not my closest friend. That's one of the reasons why I value Roxanne so much, because of what she did for just existing. Back to Roxy herself, I loved witnessing her personality literally break down and go through something of a character arc as she got busted and was falling apart by the end of the game. Even then, it wasn't enough to make her my favorite, and for a while, Glamrock Chica was my personal pick. And, The less we talk about why, the better. What gave Roxanne the pull she needed was when I decided to fully study her myself after the extra character development help Wanted 2 gave her. It was then that I realized just how complex this canine was, and that's what got me to fall in love with her. As a fan of her character and complexity, of course, and not in the literal sense. Although I did once write a self-insert fanfiction with her using AI where I did get her to fall for me. Yeah, it's as bad as it sounds, don't watch it. I want to point out some clever writing Steelwool did when we are first introduced to Roxanne herself. When Roxy says, "Everyone loves you, everyone wants to be you," she doesn't actually think everyone literally wants to be her. The last thing Roxanne wants is competition, and she knows having a bunch of copies of her walking around would be bad news. What she is trying to convince herself into believing is that everyone wants to be someone just as loved and admired as she is. This is clever writing that shows the weakness in Roxanne's personality right off the hop. Roxy has an inferiority complex, and those with an inferiority complex have it hardwired into them, literally in Roxanne's case, that they are worth less than others or sometimes even completely worthless. This mindset is often developed growing up or existing mostly in environments of extreme and constant competition. It can also be brought about in a setting where siblings' achievements are constantly compared to each other. The only existence Roxanne has known is where she is compared to and competes with her bandmates to be the most popular character at the Pizzaplex. The only character's shadow she can't shake is the lead singer and older brother figure, the one and only Freddy Fazbear himself. And it would be kinda difficult to compete with a guy whose name and mug is pasted all over the damn building. It's not officially confirmed or stated anywhere, but it's highly likely, based on the way Roxy acts, that the animatronics who don't stay popular or aren't popular, at best, get pushed off to the side in some remote area of the Pizzaplex with barely any visitors, at worst get decommissioned, torn apart, and have their parts used in newer animatronic characters. There is a popular fan theory that Roxanne Wolf was once Glamrock Foxy, who was situated at Kids Cove at the Superstar Daycare. When Foxy's numbers weren't doing too hot, and there was nowhere else Fazbear Entertainment could shove him off to the side, they broke him down and used his parts to build a new female wolf that wore a revealing outfit and would surely become more popular. If this is true, then Roxanne most likely heard about what happened to Foxy, not realizing that she was this Foxy guy she heard of, and eventually Glamrock Bonnie, which forced herself into a mindset of constant competition and needing to be admired. However, Roxy doesn't want to compete. But if she doesn't compete, then she believes she'll be ripped apart into scrap metal. This is why each night, after every performance, she gives herself that pep talk trying to convince herself, everyone loves you, everyone wants to be you. Many fans often only look at Roxanne on a surface level and never go deeper than what her outer casing shows. To the uninitiated, Roxy appears to be a narcissistic, self-obsessed, nervous wreck who only cares about competition and her good looks. However, there's more to this whistle-worthy wolf than first meets the eye, because she does actually show moments of compassion.
Hey kid, come on out. We're only trying to help. Are you lost? Are you hungry? I can help.
Now, you could say that Roxanne and the others are only saying stuff like that because they're being controlled and trying to coax Gregory out of hiding. What needs to be realized is that the animatronics are only partially controlled and their personalities tampered with. For the most part, their true personalities are shining through, which does make some of her lines contradict her more compassionate ones.
Sneak away, little coward. You are nothing!
But Roxy has adapted herself to have a competitive line of thinking, so to her, catching Gregory could be a test set up by Fazbear Entertainment to see who can catch him first. Because of this, Roxy has two conflicting mindsets going on. on top of her body being controlled and her personality messed with. A part of her just wants to give the kid a fizzy fazz, a snack, and shove him out the nearest exit of the building, hoping he never returns. The other part of her, the controlled part, wants to catch him first and prove to her masters that she is the best of the best. Herein lies the complexity of Roxanne's character. She's someone who is competitive, but only by necessity. If Roxanne was booted into safe mode along with Freddy during security breach, yeah, she'd be annoyed that a kid snuck into the Pizzaplex after hours and would be most likely expecting him to ask her for an autograph. She'd even tell both Freddy and Gregory that she's a rock star, not a babysitter. But she'd still help Freddy find an exit for Gregory to escape out of, and even try to force the kid to eat something to keep his strength up like some concerned mother. This hints at something deeper and more meaningful hiding within Roxy. Actually, this hints at a few layers hiding deep inside her, but I'll touch on that later. When Roxanne is shattered, players notice that she walks around crying now. Like a lot. Like almost every time you see her. Most have speculated that this is because she is blind and can't see the full context of the damage done to her body, but she knows it's bad and that her career is over. It's also been speculated that going blind has ironically made her see how wrong it is to catch this kid for whoever's manipulating her, and this is something she doesn't want to do. Roxanne will ask Gregory,
"Why are you hiding from me?"
because she feels utterly defeated and believes she is now completely useless. She is thinking to herself, even if I catch this brat, where am I going to go with him? I can't see. Many have argued that Roxanne spouts this line because she's now in her permanent night and couldn't see Gregory literally walk quietly in front of her as some sort of tasteless joke to the blind. I don't think Steel Wool is that tasteless towards the disabled, or else someone on the writing team there really needs to be fired. And Roxy showing a more depressed side to her in a desperate situation is a far more likely scenario. She also claims that she
just need a little work done
because she is desperately trying to stay alive, because she knows if the technicians deem her unfixable, then it's off to the chop shop with her. Honestly, the Pizzaplex collapsing and becoming abandoned is probably the best thing to have happened to Roxy, because if the place stayed open, her future wasn't looking too bright. This nicely segues into her portrayal in Ruin. When we catch up with Roxanne Wolf in Ruin, we see that holing up in the dilapidated Pizzaplex with no beauty products for years has done a number on her because sheesh. Roxy surprisingly is the most coherent of all the animatronics in Ruin. But this doesn't mean her personality hasn't been broken down in some way too. She has been reduced to a manic obsessive, blaming Gregory for her situation and how she wants revenge on him so he can give her eyes back. This is another common symptom in those who have an inferiority complex. They blame those who mistreated them and believe they are the ones responsible for making them the way they are. Roxanne is not entirely wrong in this scenario, but she hasn't really tried doing anything to improve her situation. It's also believable that Roxanne wouldn't try to help herself because the Pizzaplex didn't teach her how to fend for herself or ask for help, only how to compete for attention. Now that there's no captivated audience or fans, we really see just how messed up Roxy is, both inside and out. When she grabs Cassie and screams at her, she is so obsessed with Gregory that she thinks anyone walking around down here is him. She doesn't ask, "Are you Gregory? Do you know where Gregory is? Have you seen a spare set of eyes anywhere I could use?" No, because despite not having any eyes, Roxanne has tunnel vision and thinks Gregory is the only one who knows where her eyes are. Gregory is the only one who can fix her problems. It's all about Gregory. She gets one hell of a wake-up call when Cassie screams and demands her to let go. The reason she tells Cassie, "Oh, I'm sorry," and then says, error, is because so much is going through her head at that moment. The most prominent thought most likely being, why is there a little girl down here with me? We don't see Roxanne for a while after that, and it's probably because Roxy needed some time to herself to do a whole lot of soul searching. After we catch up with Roxy again, she's pinned under a forklift and has a huge change of heart. A lot of people have a problem with this scene because they claim it's too far removed from Roxy's character to be this compassionate about Cassie. Also, how did she end up having a forklift fall on top of her? The best answer I have here is that while Roxy was walking around taking all she just experienced in and thinking it through, she must have unknowingly tripped some release that let the machine fall on her. While I for the most part agree that this is all a bit contrived, Roxanne and Cassie do have a history, and it's not out of the question for Roxy to act kind with someone if she thinks she can get something she wants from them. In this case, it's Cassie who can see getting the heavy machine off her. Roxanne is also coming to terms with certain emotions she's never experienced before. Again, this is something I will elaborate on when I build up to it. All of Roxanne's goodwill seems to be for naught when Cassie shoves the Faz wrench into her eye and seemingly shuts her down. I'd like to go on a brief tangent and say Cassie rebooting Roxy didn't come out of nowhere and was foreshadowed all the way back in daycare when she did the same thing with Sun to turn him into Eclipse. The last we see of Roxanne Wolf canonically is her jumping between Cassie and the Mimic, telling Cassie to run! Roxy has fully come to terms with certain emotions and thoughts that have been swimming around in her head. Despite the advantages the Mimic has over Roxy, she sacrifices herself in the hope it gives Cassie enough time for her to run away. There is so much that can be determined about Roxanne here in this brief moment, but I'm going to keep teasing you with it for a little while longer. In Help Wanted 2, Roxanne is back to her old self. Well, in the first minigame anyways. In this minigame, Roxanne pretends to be just as self-absorbed and confident as ever, despite having an unqualified person do her makeup and hair. I mean, she's getting me to do it, and I'm as unqualified as you can get. Nonetheless, she's as relaxed as can be. In fact, she's too relaxed. I mean, okay, she gets aggressive if you don't pay attention to her for too long, but as a guy who only grew up with sisters, I can confidently tell you anyone will act like this when you help them with their makeup and they start to realize you have no Freddy Fazbear fudging idea what you're doing and you're purposely stalling to figure things out. Something seems off about all this, because there's no way Roxanne would get an amateur to do her hair and makeup. This girl is all about making everything about her perfect, because she feels like she needs to be perfect in order to stay popular and stay alive in the Pizzaplex. She would only let qualified professionals beautify her, or she would do it herself since she is also a registered beautician. She takes her reputation super seriously because it's the only thing she believes is keeping her around. Why so laid back in all this? Well, the next minigame is what made everything fall into place. You might not be prepared for what I'm about to show you if you're a Roxanne fan and haven't played Help Wanted 2 all the way through. This is where all the joking ends and I get serious, because when I first experienced this minigame, it hit me like a brick. Even now, I have a hard time going back to it because of how powerful and well written it was. I'm warning you now, if you haven't played Help Wanted 2 or watched a walkthrough up to this point, you're not going to be ready for what you're about to see. This is the minigame that fully spelled out Roxanne's true character to me.
I'm not a monster!
This is the real Roxanne Wolf. All of her fears, all of her insecurities, and all of her true feelings about herself brought to the surface for anyone and everyone to see. Most believe that Roxanne Wolf is a self-obsessed narcissist who only cares about herself, her popularity, her looks, and always winning. This couldn't be further from the truth, because in reality, she is just a wolf girl with anxiety, depression, low self-esteem, and an inferiority complex. While she does have a competitive attitude that makes her seem a little rude and a bit harsh with others, This was molded into her by Fazbear Entertainment because this company can't help but bring out the worst in people and destroy everything around them. There are more complex layers under Roxanne's beautifully polished but sharp-tongued exterior. Layers she doesn't understand and is even afraid of exploring because she honestly believes both Fazbear Entertainment and the Pizzaplex won't let her. Roxanne doesn't want to compete, and I know a lot of you watching this won't believe me, but really think about it. If Roxy could just spend all day at Roxy Raceway or traveling all over the Pizzaplex, being admired by and taking pictures with her fans, actually getting to spend more one-on-one time with fans who booked birthday parties with her, never having to perform on stage, and Fazbear Entertainment constantly reassured her that she didn't need to compete with anyone, she would be more like the Roxanne Wolf we found trapped under the forklift. I purposely left out a story Ruin told about Roxy and Cassie up until now. In that story, nobody Cassie invited showed up to her birthday party. Hearing Cassie cry, Roxanne comforted Cassie and spent her entire birthday with her, giving her a makeover and doing other things she enjoyed with her. This sparked something inside Roxy that she couldn't fully understand, something that made her start to realize what she truly wanted. There's something she wants more than to win and be number one all the time, something even more than to be admired all the time by her fans. At this point, most of you are expecting me to say, Roxanne wants to be a mother, and no, that's not it. I highly, highly doubt Roxanne wants to be a mom. But if becoming a mother to a child was the only way Roxanne could get what she wanted, then yes, she would take that opportunity. Because what Roxanne wants more than anything is to have someone who truly loves her for who she is. Friendly, familial, romantic, as a mom to a child, it doesn't matter to her. All she wants is someone who she can spend quality time with, and who thinks she is just as special to them as they are to her. This is the one thing that Fazbear Entertainment and the Pizzaplex kept on denying her, until that special day with Cassie. The reason why Roxanne was able to gain the strength she needed to force the forklift off her and face the mimic at the end of her existence was because she thought she found someone who truly cared for her and freed her from the shackles of the Pizzaplex when she was rebooted. At the end of it all, Roxanne Wolf finally learned what it meant to love someone, care for somebody other than herself, and sacrifice her own life for the only person who came down and visited her in the ruins of the Pizzaplex when she was all by herself. Roxanne is the best character in all of Five Nights at Freddy's, because she is the most relatable to everyone. We all exist in a world where sometimes we have to do things we don't want to, or compete with others for things we want or need. There are days where we look at ourselves and think we're completely worthless to everyone around us. A lot of us even feel like we're completely broken and shattered inside, and that there's no one who could love us because we see ourselves as monsters. We all have moments where we're at our lowest lows and feel like complete losers. I know exactly how this feels. Most of the time, I try to look confident and complete on the outside, when on the inside, I feel completely broken. I never thought that I would have ever found anyone who cared about me for who I am. If you made it this far, I want you to know, you're not a monster or a loser. Hopefully there's someone in your life who believes you are special to them, and if there isn't, don't give up hope. There has to be someone out there for you. Somebody who thinks you're a winner. Instead of doing my usual shining star outro, I'm going to quote the outro of someone who saved me from feeling shattered and personally told me that I'm not a loser by saying, "Thanks for watching."